Volume 12 of Rising of the Shield Hero, I feel like answers a lot of questions that I've been having throughout the previous volumes, and there are a lot of things that I've noted between the previous volumes, especially when it comes to the Curse series, multiple worlds, just these different things going on that are all intertwined, and also about destroying other worlds as well, and it all seems to sort of be slowly answering those questions, and now with more questions to be asked as well, with the fact that now that we know that there is other worlds, especially with the fact that there is this new character that was introduced in the previous volume that had a link to another world that was destroyed. There's some really interesting questions, especially with the fact that there was a bunch of new characters introduced that have increased powers that have destroyed worlds, and it makes me wonder if they gain the powers from destroying the actual heroes, or if it's actually just the world in general, because of course there's one hero left over. It does make me wonder what kind of powers they also gain from it, like exactly what kind of powers. There was this hint of they were able to sort of come back from the dead, or almost like a save point. I found that very interesting, that yes, they are able to gain powers, and I kind of assumed they would be able to if they defeated other heroes from the other worlds, because of the enormous amount of EXP that they would probably get, and also if they were able to gain those hero weapons, they'd probably be able to use them in their own weapons and gain all these increased powers. And it kind of also really adds to the stakes as well. You're not just got to fight the waves, you're not just got to fight the corruption in these different areas, you've also got to fight possibly other worlds. And I mean, of course, with Glass and all that, there was that underlying issue, but they weren't doing it necessarily for power, they were doing it purely just to save their own world. As much as these other characters are doing it to sort of save their own tush, it seems to be that they're more just in that sort of lustful state of wanting more power to rule over. It seemed like their goals were a little bit more malicious than Glass's, where they were just trying to save the world that they cared about. Though of course they've now formed an alliance and are going to work together, there is definitely a lot of moving and intertwined pieces that I'm curious about and how they play out, especially with the fact that there's obviously a world out there that's trying to wipe out other worlds, and they've succeeded in one of them. And even the Shield Hero noted that at some point he may end up having to destroy that world, which could give him a massive amount of power. And it makes me wonder what that power will be. Mainly I'm just curious at what the author ends up writing if he ends up destroying a world itself. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon, but it is a high possibility, with the fact that you've got to, defend yourself. You've got to fight against those that are going to try and destroy other worlds, and maybe the best way to save all these other worlds is to destroy that one world, or destroy those particular people that are doing those actions. It's an interesting balance to see if it's just those individuals doing it, or if it's the entire world that they're coming from that has this idea of, well, if we destroy all the other worlds, we'll survive. And it does make me wonder also, if they were to destroy all the worlds, would it really allow them to survive the waves? Or would it just give them an advantage for a certain period of time, and then that advantage would slowly disappear as the waves get progressively harder? So it makes me also wonder if working with other worlds could be beneficial, because if you go to other worlds, you can gain powers through gathering the different materials as well, as Shield Hero did in the previous volumes, where he went to the Japanese themed world, which I'm super excited about when he ends up deciding to go back there. My curiosity is, if he just went to all these different worlds, collected all these different powers, would it be just as good to do that if it was to destroy another world? It makes me wonder the balance of the strengths and weaknesses of how that would play out. But this volume more so focuses on Ren, and of course the Curse series, and of course I was very much on point about the Curse series and there being more different versions, especially with the 7 deadly sins. What kind of made me chuckle though was the fact that Ren has 2 of the Curse series, while Shield Hero only ever had 1, and still only has 1. So it's pretty obvious that the 3 other heroes have 2 Curse series each, and the Shield Hero only has 1. And Ren complains about the Shield Hero having an unfair advantage. It kind of makes me laugh. Though, to be honest, as much as I feel like Ren was the main focus of this volume, I do also feel like our Spear Hero really took the stage in some of the weirdest quotes that I had ever seen in human history. Like the fact that the Spear Hero only actually listened about all these upgrade powers because of the fact that now he's in love with Philo. He basically sees himself as in a relationship with Philo and constantly chasing Philo I think what was really funny though was the quotes of "Yes, father," as he says to the shield hero, and it's just like, okay, you're just assuming that you're in this meaningful relationship, and now that the shield hero is your father, it was a really, really weird situation. But what came out of it that was positive was the fact that the spear hero now believed in all the power upgrades because of the fact that he's gone, hey, I'm in love with Philo, I'm going to chase Philo, so obviously the shield hero is the father of Philo, so I should treat to be father-in-law with respect, so I'll listen to him now about these upgrades, and snap of a finger, he now has all these power upgrades. So now the spear hero is super more powerful, to the point where he could probably overpower the shield hero. Definitely overpowered Ren, that was for sure. So it just showed that listening and believing in the heart of the cards, joke aside, but believing in the system allowed him to gain a massive amount of more power, which just showed probably to the spear hero that the shield hero wasn't lying. And now that Ren has been knocked some sense into, he will probably believe as well. Now you just got to deal with the bow hero, though I still do believe we're going to have to deal with the spear hero at some point, because as much as he's listening about the power upgrades, it's pretty obvious that he's got the curse series of Lost. It's as clear as day as night. If people are screaming, that's a spoiler, say, hello, volume 1, you know who. And of course, she played a major part in this volume as well. You know who, as I like to name it, because I'm not saying the other word for obvious reasons. She definitely is a massive thorn in everyone's side. I mean, she's gone from one hero to the next, to the next, to the next, just absolutely wreaking havoc, destroying lives, and stealing so much. And I kind of have a feeling that once she's gotten everything she can gain from the actual heroes, she's going to obviously rack off to someone else and end up turning on them and make them look like the villains, as much as the heroes themselves have pretty much gained all their pain and suffering because of one individual. Definitely just really shows that she is definitely quite an out of control individual, while her sister is definitely a lot better. I mean, her sister is doing so much positive stuff, trying to rebuild the city, trying to establish things, trying to make all the sort of the cogwheels move smoothly, while the oldest is out there wreaking havoc and destroying stuff, while the other one is repairing. And of course, the shield hero is spending a lot of time rebuilding this town as well. I was almost going to call it a city, but in a sense, it's probably going to become a city the way it's grown so quickly. There were definitely a lot of things in this volume that I really loved, and I won't be able to cover over every little intricate thing without talking about it for over an hour, but I really enjoyed just the amount of different moving parts that go on in these volumes, and particularly this volume, of course, with the fact that they're rebuilding the actual town itself. You have the parts with Ren, Spear Hero, the new powers, the massive fight that happened between these other world members, the 7 Deadly Sins, the Curse series that's connected to it, and not just that, but also new members that were indoctrinated into the group as well. Of course, using the special effects to increase their stats and distributions, and the fact that Sadina and all of those ended up resetting their levels so that they could then mid-max their characters a lot better. I really love her. She's by far one of my favorite characters, and I always wish the best for her, but I know where the ship is going to sail. I just really like her because I like those characters that are a little bit more forthcoming and they know what they want and they're a little bit more flirtatious, and that's what I really like about it. She's just a lot of fun to see, so I like to see more of her, and it's obvious that she's going to play a major role, and she's a major strong character in that town as well, which is what I really like, is how she's kind of like that big sister role model for the others, along with, of course, our best girl, Raccoon Girl. She also sort of plays that big sister role model as well. But I really loved the back and forth that happened in that. And if I pronounce her name wrong, apologies. But one of the things I also really did love was a lot of the new characters that ended up joining the actual rebuilding as well. This actual girl that's blind, she really is quite interesting. She kind of reminds me of like Daredevil from the actual Marvel series, where even though she's blind, she has all these other senses. She can sense power, she can sense things around her, she has a very good perception of her surroundings, and I really felt that was an interesting thing to have in a character, and I really liked just actually quite how powerful she was for someone that was blind. I really love some of these characters where they're very unique and interesting, where they definitely have some major weaknesses in what they can and cannot do, like, as I like to say, Crybaby. She definitely has a lot of weaknesses, but she also has a lot of strengths. This new character in particular that is blind has some really interesting strengths about her, but also a lot of weaknesses. And also there's this obvious love rivalry that's going to happen because she definitely has a factuation with the shield hero as well. So as I said before, so many moving parts. What I felt was probably the most fascinating was the fact that Ren had to overcome this major hurdle of his sort of mental psychology, and the fact that he had those other people there to support him. In comparison to the shield hero, he definitely went through a lot of bumps throughout his journey to overcome it, and definitely had to sort of go through a lot of negative aspects of debuffs and issues with his shield. It makes me wonder if Ren will be able to sort of harness and use this curse series to his advantage. Though, of course, we've had our Kentucky Fried Chicken mention multiple times that they shouldn't be using the curse series because there are a lot of drawbacks to it. It does make me wonder if they will be able to sort of harness that power a little bit more. Overall, I think the volume did a very solid job of expanding the world, answering a lot of questions that it had been building up, but also leaving even some more doors open to some more questions that could be answered in later on volumes, which I think is a good thing when it comes to a light novel, answering the questions that are right there while leaving enough for more things to be added on, which just constantly expands this world more and more and more. And obvious with the fact that this other character, as I like to call her, Scissor Girl, she comes from a world that was destroyed, and I assume her voice is muffled because of the world is basically gone, so the actual hero's weapon is basically the only thing that's kind of allowing her to sort of be tied to the actual reality that she's in, or just be able to communicate in general, because it's the only thing that's translating. So obviously the weapons are connected to the actual world itself, but they can survive if the world is destroyed, but it will struggle. I'm very curious about the other worlds, as much as now we kind of only know about 3, not including the world that of course Shield Hero is on. You've got his world, you've got the Japanese theme world, you've got the one that the Scissor Girl came from, and then you've got the ones where those creeps came from that are destroying the other worlds. So there's 4 so far. So with those 4 worlds, it's obvious that there are other worlds. Going based on what has been said, what has been hinted in this volume, it's very apparent, which I'm really excited to see what the other themes are, where they go. I'm just more fascinated to see what the Japanese theme world is like, expanding on that, because I always love the Japanese architecture. It's always been something that I really enjoy, but at the same time, I'm always open for other types of architecture and world designs that are just as magnificent and sort of captivate to the imagination. Though I am curious to see if there is some other art out there for other worlds and what they look like, though I have a feeling we probably won't be able to see them. It will be more for the imagination to sort of capture. But overall, I absolutely love the volume. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Who are your favorite characters out of the town itself, the rebuilding? For me, as I said before, it's Sedina. I really like her. I like how flirtatious she is, how fun she is. I know a lot of people will say Best Girl, Raccoon Girl, but I'd like to know if other people have like a second. Putting that one aside, what are the other characters that people really love? I mean, Philo's always a fun joy, especially now with the Spear Hero and them kind of hanging around and working with the Shield Hero. It's obvious that we're going to see a lot more of the Spear Hero and the Sword. I assume the bow is going to play a part probably in the next volume or after that. I assume next volume, just based on the fact that they've gone from Spear Hero to Sword Hero, and Bow Hero is probably the next obvious answer to that. But overall, I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What were your favorite parts of this volume? Are you looking forward to season 2 of Rising of the Shield Hero? Just a quick note, if you made it this far in the video, no release date as of yet of recording and uploading this video has been given yet, but you know me well enough to know that I will make a video updating the channel as soon as possible that I am able to, probably within an hour or so of updating people on any information to do with Shield Hero. But if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more anime content, and I will see you, beautiful nerds, in the next video.